Excellent. So greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is John Lind, and I am an outbound product manager for the ServiceNow platform. And today we are joined by Mudit, who is a product manager who works on guided tours and guided setups. And he's going to be showing us some information on how to use the tools, what you can do with them. And if you're new to this is an excellent opportunity. And if you've got experience, you'll see some of the latest features. Before we get started, just want to let you know, please use the Q&A. If you use the general chat functionality, that's fine, but we won't necessarily see what you're saying in there. So if you have any questions, please drop that in the Q&A, and we'll try to answer them where appropriate as we go. And then we'll save some of the other ones that maybe don't fit in at the current moment. We'll save those for later in the session. So thank you very much. And Mudit, please introduce yourself and get started. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, John. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session on guided tours and guided setup. I'll take you through both of these products in detail in this session for initial minutes, and then we'll leave some time at the end to go through the question and answers. As John mentioned, you can go ahead and post your questions in the Q&A section. We can answer them as we go on, or else we can pick them up once we complete the session. Okay, so when we talk about guided tours or guided setup, the preface to it is always around the adoption of the products. When we talk about softwares purchased by businesses across the globe on ServiceNow platform, the applications are sold, but customers and businesses do not realize the final value of those products unless they are adopted well, they are utilized well, and their users are ultimately productive with those applications. So essentially what we are targeting, or what we are trying to do here, is we are trying to increase the value realization, the speed of value realization, how soon we can achieve the realization of value for the products that we have purchased. This is one of the key problems with a lot of businesses, and there are multiple factors that really contribute to it. It starts right from the time the software is sold to customers, it is purchased by customers, to the time it is implemented, to the time it is trained for, the training is provided to the end users, and it goes on and on to the time when people are actually using it, finding the value out of it, trying to do something, and they are able to do it, things with it. So today we are going to focus on two very, very key aspects of value realization, which also make a perfect recipe for it. How do our administrators reduce the backlog which they have for the kind of products that they've purchased? So this is something that we have heard over and over from our administrators, that they have a long list of products to be implemented in ServiceNow, and one of the reasons of not being able to implement everything is the amount of time, energy, resources that it takes to implement those products. It is definitely time consuming, and this results in a long backlog getting created at the customer's end. This essentially reduces the speed in which products are implemented. Not just that, this impacts the adoption, but also one of the key ingredients is the right onboarding of users on the products that are getting implemented. So once I've implemented something in the right way, I also need to train my users to use it in the right way. So if both of these aspects are taken care in the right way, our customers, people who are working on ServiceNow, they should be able to achieve a much faster value realization out of these the products that they have. Now let us look into both of these aspects and how these products can solve them. So when we talk about reducing backlog, one of the key aspects or reasons why they have backlog, as I mentioned, is because of the complexity of the overall setup process, the time it takes, so how do you reduce it? So we have something called as guided setup. application teams, application building teams, product teams who are trying to create new applications on ServiceNow platform, they can make use of guided setup to create a flow of setup activities that administrators need to perform in order to make their implementation process smoother. This can involve a series of steps in the form of a workflow that needs to be done. This can also involve automating certain tasks in the overall guided setup process. With this, what happens is you're able to reduce the amount of time admins have to invest in implementing a certain product. From the perspective of onboarding, one of the there are multiple ways to onboard users, which all of our customers use, which includes physical trainings, which includes a lot of documentation, lot of how to documents, and so on. One of the ways that we have found very impactful when it comes to onboarding is the use of guided tours. So guided tours is essentially a mechanism by which you are able to take users through a journey to complete a certain task, certain process in the ecosystem by actually letting them do it with the help of guided instructions. So with the use of guided tours, essentially users are able to not just understand how to do a certain process, but they are also able to do that certain process in the application, and that way they are able to perform their task. Not just for the purpose of onboarding, this is also a wonderful tool when it comes to in application help, when somebody's looking for help. So if I'm looking at a new page, I'm trying to do something new or something after a long time, this is also something which can help me getting the right understanding on how to do a certain task. So in today's session, we will go through both of these products one by one and understand with the help of a demo, how do you configure or create guided setups or guided tours and how they can be utilized in the system.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Niju.
All right. So let us start with the guided setup. So we've been seeing multiple variants of guided setup in the overall ServiceNow ecosystem from last couple of years. What we've done recently as part of Xanadu release, this is yet to come out, so there is all, of course, a safe harbor here. So what we are doing as part of Xanadu release is now guided setup will be powered by the process from the process automation designer. What this means is now application development teams would be able to create guided setups for their end users, which are administrators, to essentially implement their product with very complex workflows. Now there are two parts to guided setup. It comes with its own builder experience for the application teams to create the guided setups. And it comes with its own pre-curated player experience for the administrators to go through and run those guided setups so as to implement the product in the right way. When I talk about builder experience, this is something application development teams essentially would utilize. And the power of builder experience in this version is it is completely no code. So you need not have any coding. You need not to do any sort of coding in order to create your guided setup. It is completely a no code experience. It is powered by process automation designer. What this means is you get access to the rich task inventory, which is already part of the process automation designer. You get access to creating your own custom tasks. So if something is not available as an available task in the repository, you can create your own guided setup task by designing it. You can create interdependent or conditional task within the guided setup. So if you're moving from one task to another, you can create conditions based on which new task would be loaded or new task would be created for the guided setup process. So the whole process is UI based. The whole process is pre-curated from the end user interface perspective as well. from the player perspective, when administrators essentially access these guided setups, what they experience is a stitched flow of configuration steps. So in most of the cases, when administrators want to go and do the right configuration for a product, the biggest challenge is that they have to go to, a number of different places in order to do the setup right. And not just they have to go to those number of places, it's also that they have to understand and remember, where to go when. So what is the right sequence of steps to be done, what is it that I'm going to do at a certain step. That is a big challenge for the administrators, and that is where, a lot of guidance is also needed. So with the help of guided setup, you're not just delivering the right flow to administrators, you would also be able to give administrators right amount of guidance in terms of what they are expected to do at a certain step within the overall guided setup process. So the guided setup player experience comes with this stitched flow. It keeps tracking the completion status, what sort of tasks are completed, what sort of tasks are not completed or are in progress. It gives them all sort of instructions onto how to complete a certain task within the overall setup process. It could be a textual task. It could be a image, that you want to surface to make things more clear, or a video that you want to make, things more clear. There is also
So
an
muted.
aspect of
Sorry, excuse me, muted. We've got a question. And so I think probably a lot of us are probably fairly have experienced the guided setup with like out of the box products. Uh, can you um, uh, can you think of an example of where how a customer might use this to build their own guided setup?
Sure. So let me take an example of ITSM, Service Operations Workspace. So if you're migrating to Service Operations Workspace, or you're new to Service Operations Workspace, essentially there is a bunch of things that you have to do. You have to, set up the theming and the branding right for your ITSM product to look and feel in your company theme. That is one of the things. You have to create right set of the incident types that would be applicable for your business entity. That is another set. You might want to, create new tables in the incident, so as to add more incident layers to it. So these kind of tasks are part of the regular
Right.
implementation process. And just to take another example, if you take example of CSM, if you come out with a guided setup for CSM like application, then you would train your give guidance to your administrators in terms of how to create a new case type, what tables to be
Sure,
created
sure.
in case of that, and
So,
so on.
so for us here in ServiceNow, we're building these products that people are using. So we have these guided setups, and I've used those before. What you're saying is, if I do some customizations to that application, as part of my ITSM or CSM implementation, I can go back and basically add processes or steps that are specific to my business, my types, my record type.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. So not just the product teams out of ServiceNow, but our partners, external developers who are creating new applications and products, they can all go ahead, make use of this guided setup framework, and
Great.
release their guided setups to
Cool.
administrators.
Great. I look forward to seeing it.
Absolutely. And just before I move from this, one of the key aspects of this guided setup is it gives a consistent experience across different, applications or products that you may have. So today, the learning graph is one of the key challenges with our customers, and guided setup, it comes with its own experience. So when you launch a guided setup for ITSM versus CSM versus any other application, the overall learning graph is very low, because the guided setup looks, feels, behaves pretty much in a similar way, which gives administrators much more comfort when it comes to, how to run it. Okay. So without taking too much time on this deck, let's jump into the demonstration of guided setup and see how it works. Okay, so here's an instance. I'm going to go to all, type in adoption services. This is where, the new guided setup comes in. Let's click on it. It's going to open up a new tab. So when I'm here, I see two different tabs. One is called configure products. This is where all the guided setups which are created for the administrators would be visible to administrators. So essentially admins would see this tab. And then there is another tab, build your guided setups. This is where application development teams or people who are building something, they would go to create the guided setup for their business applications. So let's go ahead and try to create a new guided setup. If I click create, it just gives me a quick introduction of what I'm going to see and experience. Let's get started. Okay, so when I start, it asks me to introduce the guided setup, what this guided setup is about. So let's say this is case type setup for CSM. And the description is use this setup to create new case types in CSM. Okay. I can also associate guided setup with a specific user roles who would be able to access this, but I'll leave this blank to make it generic. The moment I move next, if you'd see it opens up the process automation designer interface for me. So I've got a diagrammatic view as well as board view to create the flow of the guided setup that I want to create. So I can go ahead and create a new stage. A stage is nothing but a category for the guided setup in terms of, you can club multiple tasks of a guided setup in a larger category. So for example, role management could be a category, and this category could be used to manage or create new roles. And bear that each category may have multiple tasks, so you can choose when this category would start. So I've just created a category. Let's try and create an activity. So activity are the tasks that you wish your users to do. So like I said, there is a rich inventory of all the tasks that the user can do. So there are sort of a lot of common activities, global activities, and also there is a specific guided setup related menu created, which contains most frequently used tasks in the guided setup. Now these tasks could be external links where you want to give documentation links to the users. Let's just choose that. I can select when this task will start, whether this will start with the previous step or not. And then here I can essentially go ahead and configure a number of links, what kind of link it is, and the actual URL to it. So I can give specific titles to it. So let's just do that. So I'll just call it out. It's a new introduction. Let's call it hello. Let's say it's a document. So I'll just remove video and I'll just add the URL to an external documentation. Let's say it's the docs.servicenow.com. So we'll add docs.servicenow.com. So what I've done is I've just created an external link here, which would be visible to end users when they visit this task. So I've just created one task. It's as simple as that. I can go to add activity and probably try and create another task. For example, plugin installation. So I might want a certain amount of plugins or certain number of plugins to be implemented as part of the guided setup. So I can choose when this runs, whether this is applicable as soon as the stage starts or after a certain activity. And within the automation, I can give the query for the plugin or the multiple plugins, how, what all plugin I want to be installed as part of this particular task. I can at any point in time, go and sort of delete an activity if I've created it by mistake. Let's try creating another one, which is iframe. So iframe is a very interesting, activity. So there are activities available in guided setup builder where you can create sort of new records. You can create instructions, you can install plugins, but if you already have your experience created and you want to invoke that experience within guided setup, then you can use the iframe for it. And you can invoke the same experience that you've already created in one of your pages inside the guided setup. So this means whenever the guided setup is running, users don't have to go out of the guided setup. Everything is invoked inside the guided setup so as to make the overall experience seamless. So I can just add the URL. Let's take this URL, for example, and I can take the URL and save it. And it's as simple as that. So I can go ahead and add as many number of stages. So I can just go ahead and add another stage, which says, let's say, case type management or case management. Yep. And I can just save it. So another category is created, and then I can go on, add another activity here from the list of activities. I can go to guided setup, iframe. I can again go ahead, add a URL to it, and it's done. It's done. So as you can see, I've just created 3 different tasks, 2 different categories very quickly. And then there is a search option. So if I just want to create a record, it could be creating an incident record, creating a table record or something. I can just search for it and it comes up. So there is a huge list of common activities that I can use from the common activities, but there are some frequently used activities which are part of the guided setup menu. So let's just go ahead and try to look at activating this guided setup. So I've just activated the process. So you need to activate the process in order to finalize the guided setup. And now I can click on the finalize button. Yes, I have activated and I can continue. So before I leave, there is an option to create a pre-setup checklist. So most of the times administrators, when they are trying to start a guided setup or setup journey, they need information around, what this setup contains, what am I expected to do, what should I be ready with? This is where you can provide, that information to the administrators. So let's give that and finalize and done. So that's how quick you can create a guided setup. Of course, there would be more information that you would like to give as part of your actual guided setup, but it's pretty quick. So whatever guided setups you have created are visible in the build your guided setups menu with the status of the guided setup, whether it's in draft state or it's in published state. If you go to configure products, all the published guided setups are visible here. So you go to configure products and you see case type setup for CSM. That's the guided setup that we just created, for ourselves. Now this was the experience of how guided setup can be created quickly using the builder experience. Now let us take an example of a guided setup to see how the player experience looks like. I'm going to take example of service operations workspace because that's a much cleaner guided setup that we have already created. So let's take example of service operations workspace. And all the status is also there, so if it's not started or in progress, so you can always pick up, where you left. So let's take service operations workspace. It just tells me what I can expect. And like I said, before starting the guided setup, it gives me that pre-checklist which I can go through and I can get started. So the moment I start a guided setup, it lands me on the category listing page. So this essentially contains all the categories with the description of the categories. So with each category or each stage, we gave a strong description. Now this description could be textual. This can contain hyperlinks to external pages. And then each category can have different tasks. So it displays what all tasks are present. So for this first category, there are 3 tasks. With each of the category, it also shows the status of the category as well as with each task as well. And you can go ahead and move to different categories on this page to see what sort of actions or what sort of tasks are part of each of the category. So let's resume this guided setup where we left off. So as you see, we've completed certain amount of steps. It takes us, to the step where we left off last time. So this is a typical example where we have iframed a page. On the top, there are instructions on what I'm supposed to do on this page. And then I can, do this step and mark this step as complete. I can go ahead to next step or move to next steps to see, what am I supposed to do. So there may be chances that I don't want to do all these steps. There are certain things which are optional for me. So I can just go ahead and skip that. From the top, as an administrators, I can look across different categories if they are not conditionally blocked by the builder experience, and I can go to specific categories and see, how what all I'm supposed to do and how to do certain things. So again, this is another example of iframing a specific page. And at any given point in time, I can come back to the category listing page and look at, what all categories are part of this, what all tasks I have completed. And I can also, move back and forth between different categories and different tasks and try to do that. So I can also go to a specific category. So let's go to this category. So right now this was skipped. So it shows skipped on the top left. So I get to know that this category was skipped last time. I can go to the next category, which is setup locations. I can go ahead, I can mark it as complete. The moment I mark it as complete, you see the icon changes from the pencil icon to the click icon on the left hand side menu. And now I can go back to the previous, and this is a typical instructional task that is created. So this was the completed stage. You see, it's marked as complete on the top. And if I want to rerun it, I can go ahead, click on restart, and now it's again editable for me. And yeah, I can do this again. So there's always an option to rerun a certain thing so once it is done, or I can mark it as skipped as well. So you can complete a certain task, you can skip a certain task, and those all statuses are noted with the whatever activity we are doing. And on the categories on each task level, that status is also visible. So this way, administrators can go through each and every step. They can learn and understand what is part of a certain guided setup and what they are expected to do as part of that guided setup. Okay, so let's close this. If I close this, I come back to the category page, and I can exit this guided setup any point in time, but I'll keep whatever I've done as saved. So right now I've not completed it, so it's still in progress. And whenever I come back, I can just go and click on it and resume the work.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
yeah. So this is John, this is how the builder experience and player experience works. And what I was talking about, the standard or generic player experience or consistent player experience. So this is the kind of player experience that every time a guided setup is created, this is the experience that everybody will get out of the box, no coding needed for it. But at all, if you want to embed this guided setup in one of your experiences, you can very well do that as well.
Great, great. And we have a couple questions. So Magdalena asks if you would create a guided setup for users on quote unquote how to design a simple report in ServiceNow and place it in a knowledge article. Would that be a use case for a guided setup, or would that be a use case for if you wanted to give like a how-to on how to do something specific in the product?
Sure. So guided setup is used not just to create certain things or configure certain things, but it can also be used to educate administrators on certain best practices. So
Okay,
if it's a task which is to be done in system, then you can invoke those screens inside of the guided setup. If it is an instructional task that you want to give, then you can embed external resources into it, or write all of those actions inside of the guided setup as well.
excellent, excellent. We have another question. In this guide, is this guided setup used to implement service operations workspace if you only want to customize what is already there out of the box, or would you have any way after turning on the system property plugins to implement SOW So I'm not
Um,
exactly sure what that question is asking.
So I'll just give a generic response. Maybe it'll suffice the question. So the example that I showed for service operation workspace, that's ITSM released SOW guided setup. I hope this works for the all the out of the box experiences that they ship, how to utilize it in the right way, and what you need to do in order to start using it to the best of the potential. That is what is covered in this guided setup. Have you, just in case somebody wants to do something on top of it, do something additional on top of what's available in the SOW workspace, add certain new things to it, then application developers can go ahead and create a separate guided setup for it, which users can go through.
And yes, I think we have one last question, then we can move on to the next section. I think this might be a nice segue. Someone asked whether or not you would use guided tours for a KB article if you wanted like a KB article on how to create a report. Would it be more appropriate to use guided tours or guided setup?
So if I assume you're trying to create KB articles and reports in the system, if you want to create KB articles and reports in the system, you can use guided tours to help users navigate and create those KB articles and give them on how-tos on how to do it. That's perfectly fine. Guided setup is where you want to implement something and give guidance on how to implement a certain product or configure a certain product in the most quickest way.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. So let's just quickly look at use case recommendations. So we've already talked about it. So I'll just quickly skim through it. So guided setups you can use or you can create if you want to give experience of app or system setup to the administrators. This is where administrators can go and quickly do the setup for an application or system. You want to give administrators an onboarding on how to do something. So if somebody is totally new to the ecosystem, they've got no clue on what to do, how to do, guided setup is the place to go. You go there, it'll not just give you the right flow, but also give you right set of instructions on what to do, how to do, when to do, and what is the right way to do certain things. So this is an excellent way to give best practices for your independent products to your administrators. And in general, you can also use guided setups. So during the setup journey to onboard administrators on how to use certain things from the administrative purpose. When they are doing something, you can educate them on the future use cases, how to come in future and update something, and so on. Okay. So this was about guided setup, which focused more on the administrator use cases and the complex configurational and setup use cases. Now, once setup is done and implementation is done, the next biggest hiccup with the businesses is usually the onboarding or training of the users and getting them
So I'm
onto
going
the
to say
new features.
my apologies to interrupt you. We've got a little poll that we were about to launch. So if everyone could with a couple of simple questions. And so if everyone could just answer those questions about guided setup before we move on. The first one is have you ever used a guided setup?
And we have answers coming in. We'll let this go for 30 or so seconds here.
Yeah, so you can keep preparing for, if you'd like to, you can keep preparing for the next session, and we'll take this poll.
So
And the second question is have you ever created one?
Okay.
Thank you, Mudit.
So John, should I continue with the session?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I just want
yeah.
to let everyone know that we were running that poll. So
Sure. All right. So next, let's talk about guided tours. So guided tours is a typical application to onboard users onto a certain functionality within ServiceNow. It could be, platform functionality. It could be a application feature on, how to do certain things. So it essentially provides a step-by-step hand-holding to users, where you can take users through, independent, granular steps through with the usage of various steps inside of a tour, so that they can complete a certain flow and learn from their own experience of completing that flow. You can typically relate it, if you haven't used it or seen it in the past, guided tours, you can relate it to the typical experiences that you get when you install a new mobile application in your cell phone these days. And it just tells you, go here to review your profile, click here to look for the new mails that you've received, and so on. So this is similar to that, so that users understand where do they go to do certain things and how do they proceed to do a certain transaction in the system. Now, when we talk about guided tours, there are a bunch of things available around guided tour. So one of the key things is it comes with its own designer experience. Now, application development teams can create guided tours for their applications and roll it out with their application releases, so that whenever a customer or customer teams start using those applications, these tours are available out of the box and can be utilized to quickly onboard users onto it. Not just that, administrators can also build these guided tours for their end users based on what sort of changes they have made, what places they are implementing, what places they find most complex, their users find most complex. Based on all of that information, administrators can also go ahead and create these guided tours for the end users. So it comes with its own designer experience, which is fairly simple. We'll go through the designer experience in a while in a demo. You can give step-by-step navigational instructions to users using these guided tours. There are a bunch of controls available. So it could be a manually launched guided tour. It could be an auto launch guided tours. And it just comes up whenever somebody drops in on a screen for the first time. Or you can just go ahead and disable, tours as well. So if you don't want tours, you have that control. You can disable the entire tours. It has a support across the whole ecosystem. So it is supported on the classic UI, it is supported on the service portals, and it is also supported on the workspaces. It comes with its own telemetry. So whatever tours are being used, they are being captured as part of the telemetry and can be utilized to understand how the usage of the tours is across the customers and across the end users in the ecosystem. Now we've talked about, on a broader level, what tours can do, what tours come with as a feature. Let's quickly jump into, how you can create tours and execute tours in ServiceNow. So here's an instance. Let's go through it. So you go to all, search for guided tour. So you get an option to go to guided tour. So this is the list screen where you see all the guided tours, which is created in a particular instance. You can go and click on any of the tour to see details of the tour. Let's see what this is. This is EVAM guided tour. At any point in time, you can go and edit a existing tour with the designer, or see what all steps and what all instructions are added to a particular tour step. Okay, now let's go back and let's try to create a new tour. So I'll go to new, click on new. Okay, this is where I can give details of my tour. So I can give name of my tour. So I can say create a new incident. What is the type of the tour? So I think workspaces is the latest edition. So I'll just choose workspace. Now you can paste the URL of the page on which you want to create tour, or you can select the tour, the page as well from this list. So you can search. I search for SOW, and all the pages for SOW came in here, and I can choose it from it. But if you have the URL, you can go ahead and select paste URL and just paste the URL right here. So I've just pasted the URL. You can also associate tours with certain roles. For now, we'll just keep it to all. So this is the typical designer window. So on the right hand side, you see the designer interface, and on the whole screen, it just loads the page for which we provided the URL, which happens to be the starting page of the guided tour, where the tour will start. So creating a tour is pretty simple. It consists of introduction, a series of steps that user needs to follow, and a conclusion. So I can go ahead and create an introduction for the tool. Let's say the introduction is to create a new incident. And I can just give a text. So as you can see, while I'm typing, I can also see how it is going to look like on the screen, the kind of interface I'm going to see when it goes live. So there is a preview right at this point in time. So I can give this description, I can save. I have an introduction ready. So now I have an option to drag this call out. So I can drag these call outs on specific elements within the page. And I can choose what happens when somebody interacts with this call out. So right now I've put this call out on this list icon, and I'm choosing that I want to trigger next step the moment somebody clicks on this icon, on this element on the page. And then I can also choose where the call out is to appear. So I'll choose right hand side of it, and then put a text that I want as a instruction to be given to end users. So I say click here to open the list and save. So now my first step is created. Now, if you see, I've moved to a different page altogether, but the tour is still there. So I can continue the tour across different pages. So I've put the call out on another step, and I can just go ahead and choose what positioning sounds right for the call out to appear. And I can choose, okay, click here to open the list of all incidents. I can save it. I can click on it. And now, out on independent elements or the entire area as well. So for example, here, I'm just going to put it on this text and say, okay, I'm going to talk about this whole screen. So this list displays all the incidents which are present in the system. Okay. And then I'll keep the action as, trigger next step on the next button. So when somebody reads it, they can click on the next button, and they can be navigated to the next step in the tour flow. So I'll click save, and then let's take users to new incident creation. So I'll put one call out on the new button. So if you can see, you can place call outs on a variety of items. It could be buttons, it could be an entire form, it could be textual information available. Again, I'm putting it on click, so I don't have to click on next button when somebody clicks on this. And I'm navigating this tour through 3 different screens. So this tour should continue and take users through this entire flow, right from the home screen of SOW to the incident creation. So I'm just going to put this call out on this entire page and just give an overarching instruction here. Okay, fill this form with your incident with right information. So what I'm essentially doing, I'm just creating tour with different kind of elements. So you can see that, you can choose from the elements. And when you're putting the call out, when you're taking the call out, it just highlights the elements that you can choose on the screen. So it becomes easier to understand what all I can select. So right now, it just gets highlighted, and click here to create a new incident. And I can save it. So I've just created the tour, and now I'm just going to create a conclusion for the tour. So once the tour is completed, what sort of message I want to give to the end users? So I'll just say, you've just learned how to create a new incident in SOW, and I hit save. And as you see, I'm also seeing the preview of what I've done. So I can take a preview of the entire tour anytime, or go ahead and publish this tool. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and publish the tool. So it says that the tool is published. Now let's go ahead and try to review this tool, how this is going to look like. So I'm just going to close the designer window, and now I'm going to go to guided tours to see the tour that we've just created. So it's the first tour, create a new incident. It says the tour is published and the context is SOW home, which is what we selected. So I'm on the SOW workspace, and on the SOW workspace, if I go to help center, I get the option to start tour. In the previous, when we started, I talked about various controls and tools. So one of them was manual control. So this is the example of manual control where users can go to help center and look for tools that are available for that page and start the tour. So I've started the tour. It says the current tour is create a new incident, and I'm going to run this tour. So let's begin this tour. It gives me the introduction to the tour that we added. I'm beginning the tour. So, okay, it tells me I have to click here. So even if the item is on the top, you see the call out just stays with the right item. So I can click on all, and I click next. And then it tells me, okay, this list displays all the incidents. So I've got, instructional information on what this page is about. I need to click on new. So if I click on new, so this is a event where I don't have next button. So with the button click, I move to the next step. It tells me about the form, and it tells me that if I click here, the incident will be saved. And this gives me the conclusion of the tour. So what we've just seen is we've created a tour on ITSM SOW to create a new incident. And with the help of this tour, we saw how users can be onboarded onto creating a new incident, or for that matter, any sort of transaction or activity within ServiceNow can be performed.
That's gorgeous, man. And I happen to know some of the technical challenges it took to get this into next experience, right? So I'm really impressed, and it's so slick how you can just kind of edit it in place. This in a previous life, I used to build these for mobile apps and websites, and it was a lot of work. So this is really slick. So one question that came in though is, do you use the same tool to build tours for like for portals and for non-ESC? I mean non-next experience, such as Employee Service Center. Can you use the same tool to create tours for a portal like that?
So across the, I'll give an answer which would suffice a lot of questions around where it is supported. So everywhere across the ServiceNow platform ecosystem, whether it is classic pages, whether it is workspaces, or the service portals, these are the three places where guided tours are supported. Anything beyond that, guided tours is not supported.
Excellent. And another question, kind of related to building these is can you customize them? And an example was, can you change the color of a button or that type of thing?
So right now it's not customizable. This is something you might see in future coming up with the different kind of themes that you have. But right now the callouts and buttons are not customizable.
Very good, thank you. And then the last question is, I know that I can be prompted for a guided tour, and once I take it, it won't ask me again. Is that tracked in a way that you could kind of monitor to see how many people were following and using them?
Yeah, so we track, how many times a particular tour was run, how many runs of it happened for a particular customer, particular instance, in a particular time frame or so.
And can you tell also can you also tell the specific users that did follow the tour?
So we don't track at a specific user level yet. It's more at an instance level in terms of what is the overall usage of tour, how many runs of this tour was performed on a particular instance.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
We're gonna run another poll similar to the last one. So we'll go ahead and start that now.
Sure.
As you and you
Absolutely.
continue your presentation, but while you do that, we'll let the folks answer the poll. And we're going to ask how many of you have used these personally, and how many of you have created them before.
All right. So while the poll is running, I think we can talk about the recommendations on when to use guided tours. So guided tours is an excellent tool for user onboarding to teach end users or train end users on how to use something, how to do a certain thing in an application, product, or the platform. So user onboarding remains the number one use case for guided tours. In addition to user onboarding, it's also helpful in the times of generic guidance. So I'm trained, I'm onboarded, I'm doing something after 6 months, probably forgot how to do it. I can run it anytime. I can just invoke the tour any point in time from help center, and this again just refreshes me on how to do something. This also comes with a thing that as you move ahead, you roll out new versions of your applications, or you make changes to the applications that you have. Admins make changes to certain pages, admins makes changes to certain processes. Tours becomes absolutely fantastic tool to onboard or train users, or even let them know about what changes they've come up with, so that all the users are up to date with the changes. They know how to navigate the new changes that they've just launched. And in general, how to use ServiceNow if you want to train your entire user base on how to use ServiceNow as a system, what to expect, what not to expect, how to do certain things. That's where guided tours comes into picture. So it's a tremendous tool for onboarding and giving the right guidance at different phases of product adoption.
Excellent.
All right. So this was about the demonstration around guided setup and guided tours. John, I'm happy to answer any further questions that we may have.
Yeah, we still have a couple more questions in the queue. One of them is the first one is from Eric Nelson. Thank you for asking. Are there any enhancements coming to guided tours to make them easier to edit? Things like moving a call out rather than having to replace it.
That's an interesting thought. We haven't heard a lot about the need for it, but that's an interesting thought. It's not there in the roadmap yet, but certainly something which we can further talk about.
Excellent. And another question is, do we would an administrator or an author of one of these tours have to update them when the pages or apps go through upgrades?
So it depends, if the page or the elements on which tour is created, they are unchanged, then tours do not need any sort of updates. But if at all the elements on which the tour was created, for example, we take the example of creating an incident, and if at all the new button for creating an incident is gone, so in that case, you'd have to go and update the tool to reflect the right elements on which it needs to be pointed. So it depends, owners might have to do some sort of maintenance for it, only for the areas which sees some changes coming in terms of elements.
And how do you find so Roberto, you've got a question. If you'd like to, you can come off and mute and ask it, but she's asking where to find the use of guided tours. And does that mean if you were interested in taking a guided tour, or are you looking and asking where to find the guided tour creation tool? Where would you, I guess we can answer both. Where would you find it if you want to go run it?
I'll answer both of them actually.
Yeah.
So if you want to create guided tours, you go to menu and search for guided tours. You'll get the guided tours menu item. You go there and you'll get an option to create a guided tour, just the way we showed in the demonstration right back. If you want to use guided tours or run guided tours, there are two ways in which users can access guided tours. One is guided tours are always available. If a guided tour is present for a certain page, you can go to the question mark on the top right, which is Help Center, click on it, and at the bottom, you'll see a button which says Take a Tour. When you click on Take a Tour, you'll see all the list of all the tours which are available on that page, and you can take any of the tour. Another way to take tour is if the tour is auto launch. If while building the tour administrator has created the tour as an auto launch. In that case, the moment you land on the page, the tour should invoke itself and just pop up. I hope this answers the question.
Yep, excellent. Yep, excellent. Thank you. And what role do you need to create guided tours?
So this needs a administrator role. The details on roles and how what roles are required to create tours or for guided setup and all. It's the detailed documentation is also available on our docs website, which definitely can be referred.
Yes, and when this is here in the next couple of days, this meeting will be published onto the Academy site where you registered for this. So you can go back there to see the recording of this, as well as the video will have links to documentation and important links that you'll be able to find after it's been published. So come back in a couple of days to the Academy site, and you'll be able to find the recording and the links there. So another question we had was like someone asked if there was a concept of a back button.
We do not support back button as of now because user is moving through multiple pages, and there are also certain actions which are not revocable. You've taken certain action and then landed somewhere, and that action no more exists. So we don't have back button as of now. It's an interesting ask or interesting comment, which I think we can talk in detail further. But yeah, right now we don't have it.
Thank you.
And I think I'll take another question. It says, does it allow for integrations with the Oracle or Workday? So guided tours work inside the ServiceNow ecosystem. It doesn't work outside of the ServiceNow ecosystem.
Thank you. And then one last question. Roberto was asking where do you find the statistics on how many times the tour's been used?
Well, there's something called as guided tour dashboard, which is a store application which is available to be downloaded. Customers can make use of that application to see how guided tours is being used by the end users.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mudit. Very interesting. I'm really impressed. Like I said, I've just the ease at which you were able to go in there and create these tours. I was just really impressed. And like I said, I know some of the technical challenges getting that integrated in the next experience, but it looks great. Good job. And hopefully our customers can use this to help make the lives easier for their customers.
Absolutely. Thank you, John, for having me here. It was wonderful to be here and to be able to share all of these things with our partners and customers being on this call.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.